What's up, everybody? So here's the most anticipated video. I've been so excited I couldn't wait. I wanted to get this engine apart, and I wanted to hurry up and show you guys everything that was inside my Civic from 20 years ago. I haven't seen the inside of this engine in probably 21 years because it ran for an entire season. So I haven't seen it, and it's basically going to be a first impressions for all of us. I'm curious to see how it looks after so many years. I wanted to make this also a voiceover because I wanted to be as elaborate as possible. So I wanted you guys to be able to, you know what you're looking at. So I don't have to explain what you guys are looking at. You know exactly what I'm doing. So I rather you guys just, if you follow along, but listen, you're going to be curious as to see how everything went. Everybody's engines were built very differently back then. So I know mine was very different to keep up with everybody else in a 1600. So we stroked it to a 2-liter. I want to make sure that you guys see the type of things that went into these engines over 20 years ago. What made hot rod cars run 8s 20 years ago? There were so many different ideas, so many different things that people did that made their engines special. It wasn't a cookie cutter. It wasn't one single thing. Everybody was trying so many different things to get that extra advantage and get that extra edge. And I know that we did, and I hadn't seen, anybody do that back then. We were doing that. They may possibly be doing it now, but I wanted to be able to share this with you guys because this was something very special from back then. This engine means a lot to me. So as you can see right here, the cams were completely stock. There was absolutely nothing special done to them. Completely stock cams. So now the head's coming off. We had PortFlow design do the combustion chambers, and ExtrudeHone did the finish polishing on the ports. It's stock valves, as you can see. Golden Eagle had opened up the stock OEM Headgasket to 84mm bore. And here it is, B16. The head studs you're looking at, we used A1 Technology, the H11 half-inch studs. And as you can see, that's the stock Honda Headgasket as well. This is an OG Gen 1 Golden Eagle step deck block. I had the bore open up to 84mm, and it has an 042 copper O-ring in it. Now I'm just finishing taking out the head studs because we're going to flip this thing over and start getting into some more nit and gritty for you guys. This is pretty cool. We got some 20-year-old Royal Purple Nitro 50, what I used to run in the engine, still left in this thing. And also mixed in there would be the PolyDyn TX7 engine oil additive with Teflon. Now as the pan comes off, I'm going to go ahead. I want to make sure that there's no kind of bearings or anything like that, any kind of flaking inside the oil. And as I'm looking at it, it looks absolutely perfect. So now that the bottom end's becoming more exposed, you'll see there's a stock pickup, stock windage tray, organic apple, because I'm always hungry. You're going to also start noticing that there's a coating on a lot of the internals in here. And what it is it was a sponsor that I had. They're called PolyDyn, or by their name, Polymer Dynamics Incorporated. What they specialized in was industrial aerospace coatings. And then they branched out into NASCAR. And what it was made to do was significantly reduce the oil windage because you wanted to have the oil droplets back in the oil pan as fast as possible. So you're going to see the crank, obviously, is a different color. You'll see it on the pistons. You saw it on the windage tray. It was used throughout this engine, and like I mentioned earlier, I even used their engine oil additive that had the Teflon in it. Alright, looks like we got our first organ out, and it's our Arias Pistons. It was the 2618 alloy. They were coated by PolyDyn. It was a dry film on the skirt and the gold thermal barrier on the top. So this would probably be a better close-up for you guys to take a look at the piston and the rod and all that good stuff. The rings were total seal rings, gapless second ring. Top ring was a gas nitride. Top was a 1mm, and it was standard. The oil was a 2.8mm, and the second was the gapless. The Wristpins that we had in there were made by Western Wristpin. They were a 9310 material. So basically it was a top fuel bike pin. Alright, you guys, so this part, you all know what you're looking at. I don't have to explain anything. I have 100% faith. You guys know exactly what you're looking at. So what I'm going to do in this is, because I have everything written down, I can't remember what I did 4 minutes ago, so I'm not going to remember what I did 20 years ago. So I have everything written down, and I'm just going to rattle it all off in here, and then I'm also going to write it out for you guys so you can go back and look at it as well. But I'm going to break it all down. The bearings, so my rod, my main, my thrust were all ACLs. It was a stock oil pump, the Honda B16. All the gears were treated by WPC. It ran methanol, M1, VP. The fuel pump was a Weldon 2345. The ECU was a Felpro, full speed density. The ignition was an MSD10. NGK spark plugs, the R5672A10. Fuel pressure, 70 at base plus boost. Max boost was 32 PSI, which sounds funny because that's probably what some people leave at their two-step. Just shy of 800 horsepower at the wheels with this car. Ran 880s. 168 miles an hour was the quickest and fastest that it went. It ran an air-to-water Spearco intercooler. The air temps never got anything above 89 to 90 degrees. That's why the car ran so well. It was always very cool. We put ice and also ice water in there. Had a 16-volt battery, no alternator. Turbonetics T72 with the Q exhaust wheel. The manifold was made by Revhard Miles. Wastegate blow-off was tile. Injectors were the 1600cc RC old school style because they did not have the 2000 cc's back then. Tranny was a Y1 cable tranny with a 440 final drive, and the boost controller was an HKS EVC3. I'm like totally excited to show you guys this. This has been a secret for 20 years. This was done over 20 years ago, so we were definitely ahead of our game. I'm confident in that. What you're looking at is a stock LS OEM crankshaft. We decreased the rod journal size to a Honda D15 diameter, increased the stroke by 100 thousandths by offset grinding the crankshaft, and that's exactly how we made this into a 2-liter B16. So moving forward, you guys, the car is not going to be out realistically till next season, like mid-next season, or middle of the year, I should say. This is going to be a really slow build. There's nothing for me to rush for. There's no class for me. This is all just to come out and have fun with everybody, because I know a lot of other OGs want to put their cars together or are putting their cars together. So it's kind of like we're going to all come out and play together like we used to. With me, as you can see, all the parts are coming out. I'll update parts because some are either obsolete or they just don't exist anymore. And then next will be the blueprinting of the engine, and then, of course, assembly of the engine, which everything I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to document. I promised you guys I would document it. And the way I see it is it's like a build for all of us. So, like, we're all building this engine together. So everything I do, you'll see. I have nothing to hide. And if I've missed anything in the video, then I'm going to go ahead, I'll list it as well. That way you guys can go back and reference everything that was documented, and you can go back and reference it and have it for yourselves to look at any time. So guys, I really appreciate everything that you have done for this industry, and I will be seeing you guys soon. Don't forget, like and subscribe.